The challenges facing the care system, if it's to give its children the best possible start in life, are widely recognised. Guidance issued by the Social Care Institute for Excellence and the National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence highlight key challenges for both local authorities acting as corporate parents and the many other agencies working alongside them. This film will focus on just a few examples of how local practice is supporting care leavers and using nearby resources.
How much are you getting at the moment, Gemma?
£51 a week.
£51 a week, brilliant.
Yep.
In South Gloucestershire, 2 schemes are helping young people experience the world of employment and get a taste of living alone. And in Enfield, on the outskirts of London, a multi-agency approach ensures young people are fully prepared for what lies ahead.
And you're able to budget, look after yourself, and you're currently looking for work, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think about 27% of children and young people leave care before they're 18, and given that they've had their relationships may have broken up with their family and their neighbourhood, so they're often quite isolated. There's a lot of policy development in this area to try and improve outcomes and provide the support, but it's a very scary experience to be going into the big world without that backup that most of us have of parents and wider family to fall back on.
Kingswood, on the outskirts of Bristol. Gemma, a looked-after young person, receives tuition in food shopping and budgeting from youth housing worker James Hicks. It's all part of a service to prepare Gemma for life beyond foster care.
How about food? How much are you roughly spending at the moment?
Between £20 and £25.
20 and £25, good.
As part of that preparation, Gemma has spent several weeks in one of South Gloucestershire Council's trainer flats.
This is my 3rd stay, so you do 3 lots for 3 weeks. I go home on Friday. I've been managing my money, which is a really difficult thing for me, but it will really benefit me in the future. So I've been taught how to cook lots of different things. My favourite is cottage pie. I do a lot of cooking at cottage pie.
Cottage pie. Have you made cottage pie before?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
You have to work on the premise that every child deserves a good parent, and we try to be a good parent. And we have our statutory responsibilities, we have our targets to meet, but it's the added extra that we're always looking to be able to provide to children in care. And we like to be as innovative and as creative as we possibly can. Stability for children in care is absolutely vital. And this needs to go on to stability when they're older as well. And we found a number of children, young people, were not sustaining their tenancy when they moved into their own flat. So we decided to offer them some periods, fixed periods in a trainer flat. But generally, it just gives them that idea of independence. They learn how to look after themselves and how to cook. They learn what it's like to be alone at night, because that's one thing that children never ever experience.
This is my kitchen, diner and living room. This is my bedroom. My major issues before coming in the flat was, one was being burgled. I was really scared of being burgled. Keeping the flat really clean, because it's actually impossible for me to keep my bedroom clean, so that was one thing for me. Cooking as well, I was a little unsure of. So yeah, cooking, cleaning, being burgled, and just being alone by myself, overcoming loneliness, which I think was a really big thing for me.
When children and young people are being prepared for living independently, they need some really practical life skills, providing an opportunity in a semi-independent living to develop those skills with somebody around you.
We work well with our health colleagues, and we've got a looked-after nurse who is absolutely superb. And she just doesn't do the health assessment. She works really well with CAMS as well. That's the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, and they are able to offer appointments to young people who are in our care following a referral, but our looked after nurse will actually sort of refer them direct if they if she feels that there's a particular problem that's emerging.
Looked after children and young people in South Gloucestershire don't just get help with the domestic side of independent living. 16-year-old Chris is one of many who've taken up the council's work experience scheme in one of its own garages.
If I hadn't done the work experience, I wouldn't have come here. I think I get along with people who work here, and hopefully I can get an apprenticeship here as well, so that would definitely help.
Yeah, he's done a couple of weeks with me, he's been all right, he's taking it in, doing well. Yeah, he's a good lad.
It was obviously a government initiative to help young people who are accommodated to aspire to careers, ventures they possibly thought they hadn't got the confidence, they hadn't got the skills and knowledge to achieve. And South Gloucestershire took this on very, very wholeheartedly, and in January 2006 we started the work experience scheme for young people we accommodate to help that young person gaining confidence and learn something about future jobs.
I mean, it's been embraced so well. People have taken it to their heart, and we always get offered more placements than we have young people to fill them. It can't just be the council, because services aren't provided just purely by the council. Corporate parenting spreads across all the agencies and lots of voluntary organisations as well. So we have got a huge track record of being able to work really well with our partners, most of whom are represented on the Children's Trust arrangements, and sort of contribute towards the children and young people's plans. Children and young people coming into care, their history has been varied, and there has got to be an emotional effect. And I would say that the emotional support that we offer them run through all of our services. We're not just taking these children through to their 18th birthday and then we can say, phew, that's our job over. We're looking at their care now and in the future. So we have to have aspirations for them. We take them forward and encourage them to think about university, encourage them to go to open days at local universities, and we had a huge turnout this year for young people interested to find out what university's like. And this is a big change.
At all levels, the corporate parent, the local authority, needs to not settle for second best with these children. They're there instead of their parents, so the corporate parent must do what a good parent would do, and always have at the back of their mind, would this be good enough for my child? Would this be good enough for my grandchild? And to really be pushy and persuasive and have expectations and have aspirations and be proud of the young people who achieve, as well as supporting those for whom it's much more difficult.
The SCIE and NICE guidance highlights the links between a stable education and quality of life, and urges authorities, carers and education professionals to work together to ensure a successful school experience. In Enfield, Education Officer Paul James works to ensure all of the borough's 300 or so looked after children and young people receive the education they deserve.
My role specifically is to monitor the progress of looked after children from the moment they come into care, and work with schools to ensure that we get the best educational outcomes for our looked after children. We'll have a quick chat about our young man. How's he doing?
I'm not sure at the moment. I've said to him if he needs any support with that to let us know, because they do have equipment that he will need to buy. So at the moment, I think...
Last year, I think it was roughly 15% of looked after children got 5 A-star to C's, and their peers were operating at 65%. There is a huge need for the additional support that they get. There's a huge need for the education that teachers who work with them, the social workers who work with them, providing guidance to foster carers, providing guidance to governors of schools, just so they're aware of some of the challenges these young people face and some of the support that they can put in place to help them achieve to their full potential.
Paul is part of a wide network of professionals and agencies working across Enfield.
I work here as part of the Enfield Virtual School, but I'm also a member of the HEART teams, the Health, Education, Access to Resources team, which is a multidisciplinary team working with all our looked after children. So we are a very broad team with a broad range of skills and a broad range of knowledge and access to lots and lots of other people who can help our young people. Very recently we had a young person who's just come to the end of year 10. He's actually missed the whole of year 10 for reasons which I won't go into, but entirely not his fault. And we've arranged with our Special Education Needs Department to fund him resitting his entire year 10. And it couldn't have been done without that sort of interaction with our SEN department and making sure they were aware of the particular problems, because a file will only tell you so much information. Sometimes you actually need to know the young person. SCN were very, very good because they looked at the case very fairly, and I don't think they would have done so had they simply had a paper file.
As time in care comes to an end, the Leaving Care service helps young people make the next step. The monthly housing panel meets to decide if young people are ready to begin life in their own council accommodation.
The housing panel is one aspect of what we do to make sure that the transition from being a child into adulthood happens. What nobody wants is suddenly find on a day before their 18th birthday that they have a whole case to take over. So it's about the smoothness of that transition. So the housing panel was built on that concept of that other agencies away from children's services need to be aware that young people are coming through the system. I want young people or their cases to come to the housing panel at 17 and a half. The idea is then we have a good 6 months to actually look at their care planning and what's needed to promote the child becoming independent at 18, and we all recognise that 18 is a very early age.
Today, 20-year-old Anthony has come before the housing panel.
Long time no see for you and me.
Anthony is moving back to Enfield after several years living with his foster family in Somerset. He remains eligible for the housing panel's support until the age of 21.
You understand the panel's looking at how you can live independently?
I think I'd be able to do it just fine. So I lived in...
If the panel agree he's likely to cope with living alone, they'll nominate him, and a number of support services will slot into place to help Anthony find and stay in his own flat.
Because he's leaving care, they'll look at his needs a little bit more. First year tenancy is like he's introductory, so he cannot afford to get any rent arrears, any council tax, anything like that at all, and it's social behaviour. So that's the most important time for Anthony. After that, it's not too bad. It doesn't mean that he doesn't pay his rent, but it's not too bad, so that he needs that support for the first year. If they okay it, we can start applying for a housing form, put that in and then submit that, and then sort of like 3 to 4 weeks he'll get his PIN number, and then once he gets his PIN number he's able to start bidding on property in Enfield.
The responsibility for rent will fall on you, and if you're not working you can claim local housing allowance. What we have to make sure is that when I sign the form and nominate them to housing, that they're going to represent us in the way that they're going to be good citizens, that will be able to pay their rent either because they're claiming local housing allowance or they're working or that they're in further education or higher education, but they can maintain their actually probationary tenancy. Okay, I'm really glad you've come down. Thanks. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye. It's Enfield Inc., you could call it. In many ways what we're trying to establish is a firm team around the child, where the child's corporate parents, and the idea is that we'll promote the welfare of that child as much as we possibly can.